Do you have a problem in your life that you'd really like to solve? Maybe it's something that's been bugging you for a while. You've been really struggling with it for a long time. Well, in this episode, we're going to look at the real reason why we struggle with problems. Hi, I'm Liam Naden, and welcome to my podcast, Let Yourself Off the Hook. As someone who has studied success for decades, I have found the formula for achieving your dreams and goals, and it's all to do with how you use your brain. Each week on my show, I will provide you with the tools, resources, and expertise to utilize your brain to its ultimate potential and remove the barriers to your success. And as you will discover, true success in every area of your life only comes when you let yourself off the hook. Do you have a problem in your life that you'd really like to solve? Maybe it's something that's been bugging you for a while. You've been really struggling with it for a long time. Well, in this episode, we're going to look at the real reason why we struggle with problems. Why they seem so difficult to solve. Why they keep us stuck. And a different way to deal with problems that's not only much easier, but much more effective as well. And in fact, if you've ever solved any problem in your life, this is actually the way you've solved it without realizing it. Now, what we're talking about, this whole idea of solving problems, it's actually something I've covered in many of the other episodes of this podcast already. And in fact, really what I'm trying to do with this podcast is give you essentially the same ideas, but in different ways, so that you are able to really understand these ideas, because life is actually supposed to be quite simple. In fact, it was Confucius who said, life is simple, it's just we who insist on making it complicated. And really, the most simple idea, the most important idea to understand about life, and it took me a long time and a lot of trial and error to figure this one out, is that actually life is meant to flow. We're meant to be in the flow of life, not struggling against it. And if you look at all of nature, there is a flow to this natural world. And it just seems to be us humans who are really struggling and fighting and creating all these problems for ourselves. And the truth of the matter is that problems really are the result of not living in this natural flow. Of course, living in the natural flow of life, it's easier said than done. But this is where understanding comes in. Because the more you understand something, the more you can accept it and make it a natural part of your life so that you actually use it. So let's get back to the problem that you're dealing with in your life right now. So maybe think of something that is really bugging you. Maybe it's something you've been struggling with for a long time. Maybe it's something you've put a huge amount of effort into, and you keep thinking, if only I could solve this problem, my life would be so much better. In fact, my life would be great. But this problem is in the way of you having that great life, of you really experiencing what you know you're here to experience, which is joy and excitement and fun and fulfillment, pleasure. That's what you want. That's what you're here to experience. But this pesky problem, which might be quite big, probably is quite big, it just won't go away no matter what you do. So it could be your relationship, your marriage. Maybe that's not going the way you want it to go. Or maybe you feel you're in the wrong job, or the career that you've chosen, it's just not giving you what you thought it would give you when you started out on that journey. Maybe in your business, things aren't going well. Maybe there's a part of your business that's just not performing. It could be a person in your organization who's just creating problems for you or doesn't make you feel good, is creating stress. They're not working efficiently. Or that's maybe a business deal that you're working on, or a division of your business that is really dragging all of the others down and making you feel stressed. And it could even be a health problem that you're facing. So whatever it is, what I suggest is that you think of that problem and let me ask you a few questions, and let's dive into what you've been doing until now to try and solve that problem. And as we do, we're also going to discover why it hasn't been working for you, why it's still a struggle, why you haven't managed to solve that problem up until now. So I bet with this problem, you've been doing everything that you can think of to try and solve it. So you've been trying to gather as much information. You've been thinking to yourself, the reason I can't solve this problem is I don't know the answer. I haven't been able to find out the right thing to do. So maybe you're consulting books and doing courses maybe, or watching YouTube for the information, trying to find the answer through all of the massive information that exists out there. You're thinking, the answer has to be there somewhere. Somebody must have the answer, the information. And of course, you might be finding gurus, people who are telling you, I've got the answer to your problem. I can show you exactly what to do. And maybe you've gone down the track of following what those people have said, exploring their ideas, learning about their approach. And you've probably tried lots of different approaches, techniques, methods, ideas. You've applied these things to your problem and found they haven't worked. So you've sought the advice of experts. And through all of this, you've been committed to solving the problem. You've been motivated. You've put an enormous amount of effort into trying to solve the problem. You've made it your top priority. And you've said to yourself, I will solve this problem. This is the one thing standing between me and what I want in my life. I will solve this problem. You've told yourself all of these things. But what's the reality? The reality is the problem's still there, isn't it? And when you think about what it's cost you in time and in money working on this problem. I mean, some of the people I work with, they've had the same problem, maybe in their relationship or their business life. They've had the same problem for years, sometimes decades, and it's still there. Why is that? But the point is, this problem has cost you time and money. You've spent maybe money on the gurus, on learning more information, trying to find a solution, trying different techniques and approaches and reading more books. Maybe if it's your relationship or your marriage, you've tried going to marriage counselling, using a therapist, or even spending money on your spouse by giving them gifts in the hope that that's going to heal the relationship. And of course, the cost is not just in your time and money, it's in your emotional and probably physical well-being as well. It's taking a toll on you, this problem. It's creating stress in your life. And you know, this stress, the toll that it takes on our life, it can take many forms. It gets us to eat the wrong foods. It gets us to not exercise when we should. It gets us to do the wrong things, make bad decisions. All of these things take a toll on our life. And we begin to think, what's going on here? Why can't I find the answer to this problem? Why is it still there? Despite all of my effort, all of my motivation, all of my determination, I still have this problem. This isn't fair. And what happens when we do this? What happens when we're really frustrated with our problem? Well, one of the first things we do is we start to justify the problem. We justify the fact that it's there and that we haven't solved it yet. And of course we do this because by telling us things that make us feel better about it, it makes it easier to deal with the problem, or so we think. But ultimately, justifying the problem doesn't help. But we say things to ourselves like, well, everybody has problems. Problems are a natural part of life. Problems are good for you. They make you stronger. They make you better. They make you more determined. They give you something to work on. They make life interesting. And you're always going to have problems in your life. Just get over it. Just learn to deal with problems. This is just another problem that I will learn to get through, and eventually I will get through. And everybody knows you have to work at it. You have to work at your problems. They're not going to go away on their own. And here's another one we often say to ourselves. It takes time. problems aren't solved overnight. It's going to take me time to solve this problem. But the question I have for you is, how much more time do you want to devote to it than the time you already have? But anyway, we say all these things to try and make ourselves feel a bit better about the problem and make us think that, well, it's not unexpected that we should have a problem. It's natural. The other thing we do is we blame ourselves for the problem. So we say, the reason I have this problem, it's my fault. I'm the cause of the problem. I'm the one who's been doing things wrong. There are all these things about me that are wrong, that I need to fix. I have all these faults, these failings, these personality flaws, if you like, and I need to work on fixing those. I'm the cause of the problem, and I'm prepared to take responsibility for that and blame myself for the problem existing. And as well as that, if I'm the cause of the problem, I have to be the solution. I have to provide it. I can't rely on anyone else to solve the problem for me. I have to solve this problem. It's up to me. And we say things like, I'm not trying hard enough. I need to try harder. I slip up from time to time. I don't do the right things. I do things that I know I shouldn't do. I have these faults and failings and I need to fix them. I need to try harder. I need to be more motivated. I need to learn to be a better person. And I don't know enough yet. That's the problem. I haven't found that piece of information, that one little thing that is going to give me the answer to my problem. And I often find this with relationships, and it's the way I used to think for many years. Things aren't going right in my relationship. There's something I need to do differently. I don't know what it is, but if I keep looking, I'll find out what it is, and that will transform everything. That will solve the problem. That will make this relationship a wonderful relationship, which is what I want it to be, rather than a series of problems and misunderstandings and ill feeling and stress and tension. I don't want a relationship like that. And all I need to do is find those little bits of information which are just beyond my reach right now, but they could be in the next thing I look at. It's just going to bring the solution to the problem. So I need to keep looking. I need to keep pushing all the time, trying to find that idea or those ideas. And another thing we do, which also has the effect of making us feel better about our problem, at least temporarily, is that we try to convince ourselves that things are actually better than they really are. So think about this from the perspective of your problem. If you've got a problem in your relationship, isn't it true that sometimes you might have a good day? Perhaps your spouse, you're not communicating, but then one day you might actually have quite a good conversation. And you think, things are actually better than I expected. Maybe I'm solving the problem. We have got a good relationship. We just need to make it good all of the time. So things go a little bit better for a while. Or maybe your husband or your wife smiles at you, which they haven't done in a while. And you think, it's a sign. I'm going to solve this problem. I'm making progress. But then what happens? You think you're making progress, and the next day they scowl at you, they shout at you, and they make you realize or feel that actually you're no close to solving the problem at all. Your relationship isn't good. You've still got all the problems. You're not making any progress. So the ray of hope that you had goes away. It's not there anymore. And you go back to that state of despair and you think, I'm back to square one. What's happening here? And you go on this roller coaster of emotion. Sometimes things are good. So you get a ray of hope. And then sometimes things are bad. But through it all, overall, you're not really making any progress. This often happens in business as well. You know, this used to be me in my own business life, the businesses that I had. With all of the when I was dealing with lots of problems, every now and then I'd think, this problem looks like it's being solved. Maybe this employee is coming right, as it were. They're starting to work effectively. and then they wouldn't work effectively the next day. And I'd think, I'm not getting anywhere. If I was really honest with myself, which I usually wasn't for all of the things we've talked about, because I justified where I was, and I convinced myself or told myself that things were better than they actually were, and I told myself that all I needed to do was fix myself, get some more information and try harder. But if I was really honest with myself, I would have said, this isn't going anywhere. This problem is still there. I'm not getting any closer to my goal of resolving this problem. And what I found is probably what you're finding. This is such a stressful way to live. It's no fun. And sure, we can have moments of fun, but overall, there's got to be something more to this thing called life than living like this, living in this stressful way. But the interesting thing is that for me, all of this changed. And it changed when I found a relationship and a business. When I say found, it's more like I stumbled across it. It found me. But when I found a relationship and a business and a life, a way of organizing my life, where there wasn't struggle and stress, where there weren't really any problems. And it was only then that I really started to experience the natural flow of life. And it was also only then that I started to realize that this natural flow of life, being in this state where everything is working without problems and stress, it's not only achievable, but it's actually the way we're designed naturally to live. Because the emphasis is on the word natural. It is our natural state, living a life where we feel that we are in control, things are going well, and we're not dealing with stress and problems. And if we have a problem, we're able to resolve it quickly, easily, and effectively, which means it goes away and it doesn't come back. Now, later on, when I tried to figure out what I was doing differently to create this life, which was much more in the flow without problems and stress, and where if I did have a problem, I could solve it very easily or much more effectively, when I started to try and figure out what was going on, one thing I quickly came to realize is that we're not biologically designed to have problems. And you might like to listen to episode 3 of this podcast, in which I talk about and show you the proof that problems aren't natural. Strange as it may sound, but there is proof, scientific proof, that problems are not a natural part of our life. So all this means that if a problem does show up in our life, firstly, it's a sign that we're doing something the way we shouldn't be doing. But secondly, we can actually solve that problem, not with struggle, but with effort, but not with struggle. We're designed biologically to be able to do that. And of course, one of the reasons we're designed biologically to do that is because our biological being, our body that we inhabit, like every other physical thing, every other physical part of this universe, is designed to be energy efficient. And what that means is we're designed to get the maximum amount of output for the minimum amount of input. In other words, the maximum quality result, such as a solution to a problem, with the minimum amount of stress and effort. It's a biological principle. And we're designed to ensure that problems don't linger, that they are solved once and for all. And we're also designed to live at our best. And that means having a life with a relationship and a business or a career and a lifestyle and everything we need or want in our life that really serves us, that makes us feel good, that makes us the best that we can be, that brings out the best in us. That's what we're here to have, biologically. Okay, so the question is, here we are in a state of struggle, stress over a problem, and it's not working. We're not getting any closer to solving that problem. Or if we are, it's a real struggle, it's very slow, takes a lot of effort and stress, and we're not really getting much closer to the goal, to solving that problem. How do we go from that state to this natural flow state that I've talked about, where problems are solved quickly and easily, where it comes from effort but not struggle? And we're in this flow, this natural flow where we feel like our life is working. We are being the best that we can be. We're doing what we're designed to do, having a great life. How do we move? How do we shift from that place, that struggle place, to the real success state? Well, actually, the answer is quite simple. And it's an answer I've been giving in every episode of this podcast, which is you need to find the natural way to live your life. You need to find the way you're biologically designed to function. You need to learn to understand that and live in that way. In other words, you need to be in harmony with your true nature, not fighting against it. And in particular, you need to find the success mechanism in your life. You need to understand what is the mechanism that creates true success in life. And of course, we all know where it is, where this success mechanism is. It's in the brain. That's what your brain is. Your brain is a natural success mechanism designed to ensure that you survive biologically by being the best that you can be, which means happy, fulfilled, healthy, strong, all of those good things, not bogged down, held back, weakened, destroyed by problems. If you haven't already, I really encourage you to listen to previous episodes because of this podcast, because it will help your understanding of how fundamentally true this all is, and really how basic and simple it all is. I mentioned before about Confucius saying that, we want to make life complicated, and life isn't complicated. Nature is not complicated. The way it works is quite simple. But of course, with all our thoughts and our stresses and our fears and worries, and trying to figure stuff out and trying to push hard, we fill our minds with all of these different ideas and thoughts and information. We make it all so complicated that we can't see the simple truth of what life actually is and how to make it work. But just as a quick recap, remember, as I've said earlier in this episode, your biological purpose, the reason or how your biology is wired and designed, is to ensure that you survive and that you become the best that you can be so that you have the greatest chance for survival. That's how everything is wired biologically. And you have this success mechanism designed to make sure that happens, to keep you alive, keep you being the best that you can be. And that's your brain. And all you need to do is use this machine, this natural success machine, the right way, and you're going to get the right results. You are going to be the best that you can be. And all problems, when you look at it logically, can only be the result somehow of not using this natural success machine the right way. Now, on my website and in my other podcast episodes, I've explained my 4-part brain model about how your brain works. But just as a recap, the 4 parts of your brain are your rational thinking brain, your emotional feeling brain, your survival brain, and your creative brain. And you'll recall, if you've listened to previous episodes, that your creative brain is designed to be the master of your life. This is the part that manages the other 3 parts and manages your life, because it's the part that is responsible for making you the best that you can be. It's the part where you get all of the solutions to your problems. It's the part where your imagination is, your creativity, your intuition, your higher thinking. It's where you get new ideas, inspiration, where you go, I've suddenly come up with that idea. Where did that come from? That's the answer. That's the answer to the problem. And I've been struggling with it all this time, and I didn't see how obvious the answer really was. So this is all your creative brain. And the point about your creative brain, not only is it designed to run your life, but a couple of other points about it actually. Firstly, as well as designed to run your life, firstly, it's not your rational thinking brain. All of your imagination, creativity, all of these functions and features and attributes of your creative brain, they don't come from your thoughts. You don't get a new idea out of the blue and you go, where did that idea come from? From struggling through thinking and giving some rational analysis to your situation. It comes to you out of the blue. Same with your creativity, your imagination, your awareness, those gut feelings, those instincts you get about what you should do or what should happen. This is a separate part of your brain to your thinking brain. And of course, if you really think about it, if you have a problem, what do you need to really solve it? I mean, here you are, gathering all this information, trying to work out what to do, trying to analyze everything, trying to figure it all out, trying to say, well, what does that mean? That's happened. What does that mean? What should I do as a result of what's happened, of what that person said? What should I do? What should I say, or what should I do to make things better? So you're busy doing all of that, but the solution to the problem is in your imagination. It's in your creativity. It's in those new ideas. It's a different part of your brain that's operating. But here's the important thing to realize, and you'll certainly learn about this in much more detail in the previous episodes of the podcast, or if you attend my free webinar about how to unlock your success brain, which is available on my website. But what you'll realize is the way the mechanics of your brain works is all of those resources that you need to solve a problem, imagination, creativity, awareness, different thinking, big picture thinking, different perspectives, all of the resources in that part of your brain are not available to you when you feel fear, stress, worry, anxiety, anger. All of those negative emotions, what they do on a biological level, they're like a switch, and they switch off your creative brain and they activate something else. But the important point is you don't have access to those resources anymore. So the more you struggle, the more you try and figure stuff out, the more you try and work things out, the more you try to come up with an answer, the more you try and make sure you do the right things and not do the wrong things, the more you do that when you're in a state of stress, fear, worry, anxiety, is the more you're going to stay stuck. It just won't work. And I'm sure you've found that already. It just doesn't work. And that's why you're not using the part of your brain that can make it work. So the answer is simple. I keep saying it's simple, but it really is. You have to find a way to stop activating or stop shutting down your creative brain. In other words, you have to stop letting fear, anxiety, stress, and worry be a part of your life. Because you know that when they are, every time they are, it's biologically wired and guaranteed that your success machine is going to switch off your creative brain, switch off all the resources that you need. So you need to find a way, if you really want to solve your problem, and this is the fastest, easiest, and most effective, and in fact the only way you'll ever solve your problem, or any problem, you need to find a way to switch off the fear, stress, worry, and anxiety. Okay, now I hear you saying, oh, yeah, come on, Liam, get real. Of course my problem's causing me fear, stress, and worry and anxiety. I can't switch it off. You're suggesting I smoke something or drink something or take a pill to get rid of it. There's no way I can not be stressed. There's no way I can get rid of the fear and worry and anxiety about my problem. In fact, the only way I can get rid of the fear, worry, anxiety, and stress is to get rid of the problem. Once I've got rid of the problem, then I won't have the stress, fear, and worry. That's what's causing it. The solution to get rid of the fear is to solve the problem. But here's what most people don't realize. It's actually the opposite. You don't get rid of a problem through fear. But when you get rid of the fear and the stress, that's when you get rid of the problem. Now you might think, well, this is impossible to do, or it's even difficult to do. Yes, it's difficult to do. And you know why it's difficult to do? Because your entire life you've been training your brain to operate in a way that makes it difficult. Because the truth is, you can have a problem and not be stressed or worried about it. In fact, let me ask you a question. If you had a problem, say the problem you're dealing with right now, and you were absolutely convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that you were going to solve that problem, would you feel fear, stress, or worry or anxiety about it? If you really knew it was going to go away, wouldn't you instead feel excitement, relief, conviction, certainty? You'd relax. You wouldn't worry about it. You wouldn't be stressed about it if you knew that problem was going to be solved. But it's your fear, your worry, and your anxiety that you're not going to solve your problem. That's what's keeping you stuck. So the truth is, you can actually feel good about a problem while you're dealing with it, rather than being frustrated by it. And when you feel good about it, you're going to do more of the right things. You're going to see the right things to do. And you're going to find a solution to the problem. You're going to be more motivated. You're going to take more action rather than less. You're not going to be stuck in fear and worrying about, is this the right thing to do? You are going to act with certainty, clarity, conviction, and you're going to solve that problem. And all of that comes best when you're not feeling stressed and worried and anxious about it. So it's not only possible, but it's the logical thing to do if you really want to solve a problem. Now here's an example of this, of how this works, and I'm sure you've probably had this experience. But imagine you're working on, or think of a problem you might have been working on, or maybe even the problem you're working on right now that you have in your life that you're not happy about. Isn't it true that sometimes you might have had that experience where you've been distracted from that problem for a while? Maybe some friends have called up and you've gone out socializing and had a really good time, or gone to a concert that you've really enjoyed, or done something that you've really enjoyed, and it's taken your mind off your problem for a while. You haven't thought about it. And then all of a sudden, you suddenly get an insight about a new idea about what you could do to solve your problem. And you suddenly go, hey, I never thought about it like that. I've never thought about doing that. I can see that would be a far more effective strategy, or something that would really help solve my problem. And you get excited by it and you actually do it, and it does work. It either resolves the problem completely, or it takes away a major part of the problem. And it's always just an idea and a thought. It's nothing big, it's nothing complicated, but it's a really profound idea, something you hadn't thought of before. How did that happen? Well, that's an example of what I'm talking about. You're not using your thinking brain, and you're not in this state of stress, fear, worry, and anxiety about your problem, because you're not thinking about your problem at all. You're feeling good. And when you're feeling good, you've activated your creative brain. And that's where these new ideas can come to you from. And you might say to yourself, where did that idea come from? How did I think of that? And that's a really good question to ask, because you're admitting that it hasn't come from your thoughts, that it has come from a different part of your brain, and a part of your brain that you're not, on one level, actively in control of. You didn't figure it out, that idea. It came to you when it was ready, if you like. Or more importantly, it came to you when you were ready. In other words, when you were in a state of awareness that would enable you to be in the natural flow of life, actually act on the right idea, and therefore solve the problem. Okay, so what am I really getting at here? Well, the essential point is, and really the conclusion to all of this, is the only way you're going to solve a problem, really, is you need to allow your brain to do the work, to come up with the right solution, and to motivate you to take the right actions for that right solution. And you're only going to do that. There's only one part of your brain that can do that, of the 4 parts, and that's your creative brain. And your creative brain can only do that when you activate it, and you activate it biologically by not being in a state of fear, anxiety, stress, and worry. So the question then becomes, well, how do you do this? And really that's the whole purpose of everything I do, is to show people how you do this, because this is what I had to figure out. When my life changed after I lost everything and became homeless and created a much better life after that, I didn't realize I was using my brain differently, that was the reason why my life not only was a mess before, but was so much better afterwards, was a different way I was using my brain. So I had to go down the process of learning to understand 2 things, and really these are the only 2 things you need to understand as well. Firstly, how your brain works, how it works naturally, how it's designed to work, not how you think or how you're trying to force it to work, how it's naturally designed. And your brain is as natural a success mechanism as your heart is a natural pumping the blood mechanism. So that's the first thing. You have to go down this, you have to spend some time learning about how your brain actually works, understanding this thing, this brain, this success mechanism. And the second thing you need to do is you need to learn how to stop letting things into your life that put you in a state of fear, stress, and anxiety. And that's very possible. You know, people say to me, oh, it's impossible. There's too many bad things going on in the world. There's too many bad things going on in my life. It's all very well for you, Liam, saying you don't have any problems. I've got this huge problem in my life that I'm trying to deal with. It's all very well for you to say, don't be afraid, don't be stressed, don't be worried. But you know, it's not just me who says, don't be afraid, don't be stressed, don't be worried about your problem. I think I've heard that somewhere before. Someone who's definitely a lot wiser than I am, who said in the Bible 365 times, be not afraid. That was the instruction. And the reason is, when you're afraid, when you're stressed, when you're worried, when you're anxious, you activate the wrong part of your brain. You shut down the part of your brain that is designed to make you the best that you can be and solve all your problems if you have them. And make sure you don't create new problems in the future, because if they're of no benefit to you. Despite people telling you, oh, problems are good, they're not. They don't help you. And I don't know about you, but I think life's a lot better without problems than with. Now, of course, all this is going to take some time and effort. And that's what my mission is to help you understand and help you do the right thing so you get the right results. And the reason it's going to take some time, and the reason it isn't a quick fix, is because you've spent your entire life, like I had, like everybody has, being told and led to believe that life is meant to be a struggle, that you have to try hard, that there's always going to be problems, that problems are natural, and that really you can never be truly happy, that you're always going to have problems in your life. None of that's true. It doesn't make any biological sense for any of that to be true. It simply isn't. So those two things, understand or learn more about how your brain works so that you really understand how it is a success machine and how it's designed to be used, and really look to eliminate the things in your life or reduce them substantially, the things that activate the wrong part of your brain and make you feel stressed, afraid, and worried. They're the only two things you need to do. So we've talked about the first thing, and I've got lots of resources through the rest of this other podcast episodes and on my website. There's a free webinar about understanding your brain and how to use it in a much better way. But the second thing, about eliminating those things in your life that cause you fear, stress, worry, and anxiety, you have to start looking at the things that are causing you to feel bad and making some decisions about removing them. That might mean not having that conversation with that person. It might mean resigning from your job. It might mean ending your relationship. Now, they might seem quite drastic things, but if you knew that your brain is wired to make sure that you end up with a perfect life, wouldn't you trust it? That's where the understanding comes in. You don't need to trust something when you understand it. So that's where it's really important. Think about your problem again, the one you're dealing with right now. What toll has it taken on your life? Has it really been worth it? All of the stress, the struggle, and the fact you're not really getting too far with it. Even though sometimes you might see a glimmer of hope, or you might try and justify to yourself that you are making progress and that you're learning a lot and that you're going to solve this problem in the future. But if you're really honest with yourself, you're still struggling with this problem. And the word is struggle. You shouldn't be struggling with a problem. You're not designed biologically for that. And then ask yourself, maybe it's time I took a different approach. Maybe it's time I learnt about this success machine. And maybe it's time I started to realize that the fuel for this machine, the success machine, is actually trust, understanding, awareness, allowing, and that all of these things, they're blocked biologically, or should I say the machine, the mechanism is gummed up, if you like, or made to work inefficiently, like the wrong fuel for the machine. The wrong fuel is fear, anxiety, stress, and worry. So what are you going to feed into your success machine, your brain? Are you going to feed it the things that it needs to work and to operate perfectly, efficiently, and effectively with? Or are you going to put the fuel in that's going to mess it up? It's as simple as that. Remember, this is a biological machine. This isn't any sort of spiritual or theoretical idea. This is human biology. And it's not just human biology, it's the biology of all life. So in summary, the answer to what is the fastest and easiest way to solve any problem is just to use your brain the right way. Instead of trying to fix the problem directly, fix the machine that is designed to fix the problem, and the problem will go away. The problem will solve itself. And once you begin to work on your understanding and application of these ideas, you're going to start seeing some results, different sorts of results to what you've ever had. This is what happened to me. Things happen so much more easily, and they came to me in such a better way. Life became so much better to deal with and enjoy rather than to struggle with. So you're going to see the results. You're going to see some evidence that this is actually true. And like everything else, when you get the proof, then you only want to do more of it because it's logical. It becomes more and more logical. The more you understand it, the more you apply it, the more logical it is, the better results you'll get. And it's all to do with how you use this thing, this success mechanism, your brain. And I'll leave you with a quote from the Bible because, again, it talks about this because remember, what we're talking about specifically is using your brain in a very different way to the way you've ever used it, and to the way, unfortunately, to what most people are doing with their brain, to the way most people are using it. But it says in the Bible, I'll leave you with this quote, "Do not conform to the pattern of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will." That's what it's all about.